Okay.
These need to be washed yet, Chief? Apples?
Good morning.
Oh, you sure.
Today we're going to start Daf Ayin. That's 70. 70A, but we're not at the top. We're almost towards the bottom at a new Mishnah. I think Hashem that we're able to learn every day. It's supposed about learning. Should have basic Mikdash immediately. Okay. Mishnah starts like this. We've quoted this Mishnah before. Meisa'av leinas reikna rishus labal. Talking about a young girl. She's under 12 and a half, and she's betrothed. So if she has a vow, even if the vow was from before the marriage, but the father and the how do you call the husband? That's just the betrothed fiance or betrothed something. So the fiance, together with the father, can annul the vow. If the father dies, now because the husband is only betrothed to her, so he can't annul the vow on his own. He needs the father. Meisabal, but if the husband dies, then then the father can annul on his own. The Mishnah explains, over here the father has more power than the husband. He has an advantage over the husband because he can annul on his own. The husband can't annul. The fiance can't annul on his own. The Davar Acher, the Mishnah tells us, in another matter, that the husband has a power over the father, over her father. What is that? If she reaches maturity, the Gemara is going to explain exactly. If she reaches maturity, then the husband can annul, and the father can't annul. Okay. We start off like this. My timer. We ask, what is the reason that the father inherits the rights to annul from the husband? He can still annul even if the husband dies, but it doesn't work the other way. My timer, says that she's in her father's house. Now, actually, the Gemara's question must have been that what's the reason why the husband does not inherit? That must be the Gemara's question. Because from the Gemara's answer, you can see that what we're saying is that she's still in her father's house. In her father's house, even if there's no father. That's what that would be explaining. In her youth, she's in her father's house, even if there's no father there, and therefore the husband cannot annul on his own.
Here quotes from the Torah, being in her youth, in her father's house, numbers 37.
Right. And that's explaining why the husband can't annul on his own without the father, because she still is in the father's house, even though there's no father there. Meisabal, but if the husband dies, minolan. Yes, and now you see clearly what the Gemara's question is. Now the Gemara asks the other way. If the husband dies, so the father, the power to annul reverts back to the father. Where do we know that from? Amarabad Amakrav them hayusil. Pasuk says that the father can annul the vows, and then it goes on and says, and if she's married to a man, and it has a double expression here. Imhayusil ish. Hayoy sil ish. Right? What is it? Hayoy sil ish. If she is, the word haya is. If she is to a man, and she has the vows on her. Now that double expression teaches me the following. This was Rabbah, which we quoted yesterday. We turn the page. It says, Makish kaidme havaya shniya lekaidme havaya rishayna. We do a comparison. Before the second marriage is similar to before the first marriage. Now, before the second marriage is another way of saying that the husband passed away. before the second marriage. And that's comparable to before the first marriage. It goes like this. Ma kaidme havaya rishayna. Just like before the first marriage, av meifel l'chadei, the father can annul on his own. Av kaidme havaya shniya, av meifel l'chadei. So too, before the second marriage, the father can annul on his own. Before the first marriage, she's under the father's jurisdiction. Before the second marriage, which means the husband died, she's also under the father's jurisdiction. Okay, so that would be our source, that if the husband passes away, she goes back to the father's jurisdiction and he can annul the vows.
No matter how old she is.
We're talking about that she's under maturity.
One of these cases.
Yeah, under maturity, yeah.
But if on the time that her first husband passed, like she will still be of maturity.
A young widow. Yeah.
This isn't really special to who says it isn't it general true for legal capabilities.
It has other ramifications other than this. If he can marry her off, the ownership of the father over his, he can sell her as a maidservant.
Enter into agreements and contracts. It's the same.
Could be. The Gemara asks, "Ema hani mili ben Nedarim shlei nira la'aros." Maybe this is only talking about a vow that was never taken under the jurisdiction of the husband while the husband was alive. Maybe what the father can annul is only vows that were made after the husband passed away. How do we know that he can take over those vows, even that were made, that the aros is the husband, the betrothed husband, heard about and didn't get a chance to annul? But maybe vows that were made in front of the aros, the father can't annul it. Question is, the way the Ran explains it, if we do a comparison, just like the Nedarim that were made before the first marriage, were never heard by the husband, so to the Nedarim that were made after the first marriage, before the second marriage, also were not heard by the husband. Maybe that's how we should understand this. But vows that were made by under the husband, then the father can't annul. The Gemara says, even the Nedarim shlei nira la'aros mibnei beisavia nafka. If we're talking about vows that were not made in front of the aros, then we would understand that simply from the verse itself. Nura beisavia. From vows that were made in the father's house, from a youth in the father's house, we would understand that there's nura and beisavia, that if she goes back to the father's house, then and the vows were not made under the husband, we would know automatically that the father can annul it. Here we're talking about the im hayosiya leish. We're learning from this other verse. That's coming to teach me extra that even vows that were made under the husband, the father can still annul if the husband passed away. Okay.
When you say under the husband,
Still have time?
when you say under the husband, is that she's living with her husband? Because and this quote,
No, not living with the husband. We're talking about that she's betrothed to the husband.
because here in this quote it says that she's considered to be under her husband's house, like in her youth. Like, so her father always has jurisdiction over her,
Right.
as long as he lives with her.
As long as,
She lives with under his roof.
I don't know if that has to be like that. I think what it means is that she's not betrothed.
That is now you're a young woman in her youth.
Right.
Be considered in her father's house.
She's always considered the father's house, as long as she's not betrothed. When she's betrothed, then actually, once she's betrothed, she's still in the father's house. Until she's married, she's not in the father's house. So here we're saying that I could have understood that maybe if the husband dies, so she goes back to the father's house, right? She's still young, but maybe only the vows that she made after the husband passed away can the father annul. But the vows that were made under the husband's jurisdiction, maybe not. So we answered that no, vows that she made out of the husband's jurisdiction, the father would anyways be able to annul from a different verse. What does it teach me? Hayosiya, that tells me even the vows that were made under his jurisdiction, even while she was married. Yeah, sure. Okay. Now we go to the second part. It says over here there's an advantage of the father over the husband. Then we say the opposite. But we do have one advantage of the husband over the father, that the husband can annul when she reaches maturity. Mar says, "Hey Chidami, what case are you talking about? Are we talking about that he was betrothed her when she was a young girl? Not 12 and a half yet. Ubagra, and then she reaches 12 and a half. Michti, the Gemara asks a question. Let's see. But it sounded like from the Mishnah. So when she reaches maturity, she's now going to be, the husband is going to be able to annul the vows and not the father. Just 1 second. Is she married or is she betrothed? She's betrothed. She's not married yet. And we're thinking that maturity is somehow going to make her under the husband's jurisdiction. 1 second. Michti. Misa maitzia. Ubagras maitzia. 1 second, what's the base over here? She leaves the father's house through the father's death. She leaves the father's house through reaching maturity. Those are two options. The Gemara says, 1 second. Mam yisalena strike nerishus labal. Afbagras strike nerishus labal. Just like when the father passed away, the authority doesn't revert to the husband because she's still not married to him. She's only betrothed. So too, when she reaches maturity, shouldn't be stronger than the father passing away. So therefore, the husband should still not have that jurisdiction. Should have you had what?
That's confusing.
So now all of a sudden you get thirsty.
It's like the whole young kipper. If you're starving, it's all right. So you can eat. Hunger goes away.
Okay. So Ella Shekitchikshi by Geras. Talking about a different story. Yeah. Not that she was married, that she was betrothed to him while she was a child, and then she reaches maturity. Because we would say over there that if she's still not married, that doesn't make her out of the father's jurisdiction. Now, one point that we're not saying is what actually does happen then. Who can annul those vows? Possibly it can't be annulled because she's not under the father's jurisdiction and she's not really married to the husband.
Can't be annulled by the husband or father.
It can't be annulled by the husband or the father. She goes to a chacham.
Yeah.
So, but we switch the case because we're looking for a case where the husband can annul the vows without the father because of maturity. So the case goes like this: that he is betrothed to her she begears when she's already 12 years old. Now, what we're talking about now, the Gemara leaves out like the main point, is that we have a rule that if they set a date for the wedding and the date comes, she is now under the jurisdiction of the husband, even if the wedding didn't come. She's now able to eat his food. He has to support her. She can already eat truma. Remember, we learned this in Ksubas. So something happens from the date of the wedding where she's now considered under the responsibility of the husband. So we're talking about where the betrothal took place after the maturity and the date of the wedding has arrived. And so now we're saying that now that's a case where the husband can already annul the vows and not the father. Right. Well, let's take a look. The Gemara is the Gemara gonna ask this? The Ran asks this. didn't see it in Iran. I saw it somewhere else.
I guess this is like a different law.
Let's take a look at the Gemara. Okay. The Gemara asks a question now. Why do I need our Mishnah to teach this to me? Tanina Chada Zimna. I've taught this. We have this already in another Mishnah. Where's that Mishnah? Ahead. A few pages ahead on Daf Ayin Daled.
We didn't have it yet.
We didn't have it yet. Where does it say it? No, not Ayin Daled. Ayin Gimel Amud Beis. The Mishnah over here says, "Begerish Shas Yud Beis Chedesh." Valmana Lamed Yaim Rabbi Eliezer Mahayil Baila Chaim Naseh Yafer. Rabbi Eliezer holds that since the husband is obligated to feed her, he can also annul her vows. So the Gemara is asking, if you have a Mishnah over there that says it, why do you have to say it in our Mishnah here? You don't have to repeat the same thing twice, especially in the same chapter.
Even before he's married.
Even before he's married, because the time of the marriage arrived. Now the Ran brings up an interesting question here. He says in the same chapter, there's another reason, and in the same Masechta, there's another reason to bring it, because this was a Stam Mishnah by us, and over there it's a Machlekes, and it's coming to tell me that a Stam B'achach Machlekes, the Allah is not like the Stam.
Say that again, please.
The Ran brings up another issue. The Gemara is asking, Tanina Chada Zimna, we taught this already. Why do you have to say it twice? The Ran says, no, there's a good reason to say it twice. Because over here, we didn't say that there's a machlekes. Later on, we're going to say that there is a machlekes. So if you have in the same sechta, a Stam Mishnah, an anonymous Mishnah, with no argument, and then you have another Mishnah later on with the argument coming to tell me that the halacha is not like the Stam. So this whole question of Tanina Chada Zimna would only be if they would both be Stam Mishnayos, or both Machlekes. But if one's a Stam, one's a Machlekes, there's a reason to say it because it changes the way we view it. Remember, if there's a Machlekes and then a Stam, then we say, oh, like the Rebbe is paskening. First he told me there's an argument, now he tells me how we go. But if he says there's no argument, and then he says that there is an argument, then what he's telling me is that you probably don't follow that. He's telling it's much more complex than just what I said before simply. So here it would be saying, anyway, that's the round, he points this out.
And the Machlekes is a Yaqid against the Rabbi. What's coming up?
Well, it's Rabbi Eliezer against the Chachamim, but the Gemara says it's really Rabbi Yeshua. That's Machlekes Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua. Okay, whatever the case is, Tanina Chada Zimna, we taught this already somewhere else in the same chapter, further on. It says, Habigeres Shashasa Yud Beis Chedesh. Habigeres, a girl that's 12 and a half, that's Habigeres, reached maturity, that waited 12 months. Who had to wait 12 months before they got married? A young girl, Nara, would wait 12 months. Habigeres did not have to wait 12 months. The waiting 12 months before the marriage, we learned in Ksubas, was to prepare for the clothing and everything that you would need for the wedding. Now, a young girl would not have accumulated the clothing and the jewelry, but an older girl would have already accumulated that, and we would say that someone that's already a begerist only has to wait 30 days before the wedding. The wedding is after 30 days, not after 12 months. So Gemara says, Hagufakash, 1 second. Before we even get into answering the question that we asked, we immediately start questioning the Mishnah that we quoted. And so 1 second, that Mishnah is a contradiction. You said a girl that reached maturity has to wait 12 months. A begeres, a girl that's 12 months, only waits 30 days. And 30 days means, the significance of this, that once the time of the wedding has arrived, then the husband is already obligated to support her, even if the marriage doesn't take place. And according to Rabbi Eliezer, once he's obligated to support her, he can also annul the vows. So it's not 12 months, it's only 30 days.
What's the
Begeres is a girl that's 12 and a half. Remember that this guy goes for his smicha test. So years ago, the smicha test, they would learn Hilchas Shchita. So the rabbi says, what's an Igeres? Now, Igeris was, remember in Chulin, we learned like it was a nick in the knife. The knife could have a nick going this way, it could have a nick going that way. So going in one direction. Anyway, so he said, what's the Igeris? That's one of these nicks in the shechita knife. He says, it's a girl that's 12 and a half. So he said, so what's a Baigeris? So he goes on to the next, something else. So the rabbi says, so what's that? And so he goes to something else. This goes like 20 times. Then at the end, the rabbi says, okay, I'm not giving you smith. He says, why? I just didn't know one thing. Okay.
Like he had the answers, but he was off by one.
So, this doesn't look good if someone walks in and the fast started and there's all this food. It's like, what are you guys doing? So the Gemara says, Tani, you should teach it by Geras Vishashasa Yid Beis Chedesh. Those are two separate cases. Either a Begeres, which would mean that waited 30 days, or a girl that wasn't a Begeres but waited 12 months. And then Rabbi Eliezer would say that the marriage was supposed to take place. And so therefore the husband can already annul the betrothed husband can already annul the vows. Now, I read this according to the Ran. There's other commentaries here that learn it differently. Begeres Katani Hasam Mishum Debai Iflu. Oh, I skipped a word. Mikol Makim Kasha. Nevertheless, there's a question. As we got distracted by looking at that Mishnah and asking a question on it, that why does a Begeres have to wait 12 months? It's only 30 days. We answered it. At a Vavin. Those are two separate cases. The Begeres, which would be 30 days, and the girl that waited 12 months. But whatever the case is, we had an original question. Why do you have to say it twice? If a Begeres already, the husband annuls the vow without the father, then why does he have to say it again over there? So Iba is saying hachadafka. You know what? The reason why it's saying it twice is because one of them is what it really wants to say. And then over there, because it wants to tell me that there's a machlekes Rabbi Eliezer and the Rabbanan. But over here is the main one. This is where the Ran asks his question. He says, what do you mean this is the main one? Stam bi'achikach machlekes. The main one is the machlekes. The Ran gives a very, like, in the language of it, it's very funny. It says, when it says Iba Yesema Hacha Dafka, here it's the main one. It says Lav Dafka. Not specifically mean that this is the main one. It means one of them is the main one. Okay. Iba Yesema, if you want, you could say Begeres Dafka. That Mishnah over there is the main one. I did a Nasav Reisha, but Nasav Sefer Nami Bazeh. Once we started to talk about the Begeres in here, so now we mention it over there as well, but that's the main point. I'm not sure. According to the Ran, that was the main point also in the first answer.
Here it says the Gemara answers the Mishnah should be revised. Teach the Mishnah a woman who waited 3 days and a young woman who waited 4 months.
Right. We added in an and, as it's a separate case. A grown woman only waits 30 days. Why do you say a grown woman that waits 12 months? So he said, no, a grown woman and one that waits 12 months, meaning that's how we did that.
Thank you.
Let's go a little bit further. I'll leave early today, but we'll start the Mishnah. We're on Ayin Aleph 71.
Although we still finished the daf.
We did the daf, yeah, we're good. Nadra Bihiarusa B'Niskar Shabbai Bayan. She took a vow and she's betrothed. So remember, if she's betrothed, so then her husband and her father have to annul the vow together. Well, this was a very quick marriage, and she got divorced the same day. Nisar Sabbai Bayan. And then she got engaged again. Probably not the same guy. It's another and someone else. And what's happening here is they already rented the hall for the L'chaim. So there's anyone else here that's interested? One of the friends.
Shows up on there.
Or even 100.
Yeah, feel Lameya. Even if this goes 100 times, each one divorces her, and then someone else marries her. This goes on for 100 times, and it's all the same day. It's a busy day. Huh? A lot of getting over here because you have to get it a get.
For a meal?
Probably. So what happens now? Who can annul the vows? Avio baila ha'achar mefir nedara. Her husband and the last of the husband. I'm sorry, her father and the last of the husband. The one that she's betrothed to right now. The last one. Zaklal, here's the rule.
Here's a comment here. We learned this before. What about that 3-month waiting period?
Oh, that's a big problem. That's a big problem. Yeah. That is who brought that up? I think I saw the Ron brought that up.
So there's no suspicion.
No, but the betrothed could
No, 1
live in,
second.
I think that's after the
So the Ron said no, I didn't see it in the Ron. I must have seen it in the Rush. You have the Ron over there.
It quotes Yevamos 41a.
Yeah. I think what I saw was exactly your answer, that the whole reason why you had to wait was because of maybe she's pregnant. But over here, they're not concerned about that. But I think we had a rule that you had to wait anyway.
Here it says that even if betrothed, you have to wait 3 months.
Yeah. So that's a question.
So this would be a video of it.
It would be a bidya of it, I guess. That could be an answer. That it was against halacha.
No, but the end is they say, whoops, I just realized there's a second. I just read that.
Here on the notes it says that the Vilna Gaon suggests that perhaps this Mishnah follows those opinions that hold the 3-month waiting period is only required for women who have been married.
Oh, so then this would be an opinion that we didn't accept. This Mishnah.
No, she's still not married.
But not
She-
the-
No, but we hold that she has to wait 3 months, even if it's a betrothal.
Even after
Yeah, I think so.
video of it, if she didn't, it would still be
Yeah, it would
valid.
still be valid.
Second
It's
marriage
always,
would
it's gonna
still
be valid, yeah. Yeah, but
Natan
the
he's
child
saying,
Rabbeinu
wouldn't be
Natan
monitored.
Bar Yosef and the Roots say that if she was married multiple times on the same day, then that rule doesn't apply.
oh, that on the same, no, that's a good answer.
If she was actually married, though. Here, she's not getting married.
No, but we don't make a
Betrothed,
difference.
betrothed.
We don't make a
Oh.
difference between betrothal and marriage because we suspect that we don't know what happens by the betrothal. You remember in Yehuda, they would live with the,
Right.
okay. So anyways, Zehaklal, this is the rule. As long as she didn't reach maturity and she didn't leave her father's house, then she needs her father and her husband to annul the vow. And which husband? The last husband. The Gemara asks, how do you know that the last husband can annul the vows that were taken while she was married to the first husband? How do you know it passes over like that? Amar Shmuel, Amar Kra. So Shmuel says, it says in the pasuk. Now the Ran points out that it was actually Shmuel that asked the question. And he's the one that gives the answer. It's not Amar Shmuel, Amar Kra. It's Amar Shmuel, Minolan Darasachan Mefin Dam Shnil Rishon. Shmuel asked the question. And his proof for that is because later on, when we're going to bring a brisa that's going to support Shmuel, we're not going to bring a brisa that's going to support the pasuk that Shmuel quoted. He's going to bring a brisa to support the ruling, which means that Shmuel had this whole thing in mind. He quotes an example for this, the first Gemara of Elam Metzias, where the Gemara asks, how much are the fruits that are spread out, where the person finds the fruits? Rabbi Yitzchak Kav Bar Ramas, and over there it's explained, Taisus explains over there, that Rabbi Yitzchak was the one that asked the question. based on how the follow-up of the Gemara, it has to be that he was the one that asked the question as well. Okay. So Shmuel brings a pasuk, if she is to a man and the vows are upon her, Nedarim Akbar, talking about the vows were already upon her. That's the support that even though the vows were made before she was married to this husband, the second husband, or the third, or the 100th, can also annul those vows. How do you know that's talking about the vows that were taken under a previous husband? Maybe not. The Gemara says, Aleha kra yaseru. The word Aleha, upon her, is an extra word. And the extra word is coming to teach me that even if they were there beforehand by one of the previous husband, the new husband, when he hears it, he can annul the vow. We learned before that it's only because he's together with the father. Since the father doesn't have a concept of vows that came before him, because she can't have vowed before the father was the father. So together with that power, together with the father's power to annul vows previously, the last husband can also annul vows previous. Let's leave it over here.
Easy fast, everybody.
Okay, have an easy fast.
Hey, thank you. Easy fast, Koyach. Thank you.
Okay.